Synergy. Welcome to Synergy. Live with Synergy. Live with Synergy. This is your host, Andrea John Baptiste. Welcome to Synergy, where music, business, and culture synchronize.
Greetings, friends, family, colleagues, collaborators, audience, and guests. This is Andrea John Baptiste, and you're in tune with Synergy, your new drive time favorite talk show where music, business, and culture synchronize. Yes, we're new to WDJY 99.1 FM, and we're excited to spend the next 45 minutes to an hour or so with you live, living in Synergy, live with Synergy, where music, business, and culture synchronize. And what a show do we have for you today. You know, we're always talking to people in front of the cameras, in front of the mics, and so on. And today we're going to talk to some folks that are behind the scenes. They are movers of music. Our first guest is none other than the amazing Diva J of Island Riddims. And a little bit later on, we will speak with the amazing Mr. William Penn of Penn House Productions. And right now in the studio with me is the absolutely fantabulous synchronizing queen of Synergy, my friend and soon to be yours, Diva J. Greetings, Diva J.
Hello, Queen. How are you, my darling? What an introduction. I'm sitting here blushing and fanning myself. That was amazing. Thank you so much, most humbly, for all those praises. Thank you so much.
It is our pleasure. I am so happy that you are here today with us. I look forward to this conversation. I've been looking forward to it for a minute, too, because I tell you, we've got so much synergy and so much to talk about. So with no further ado, you are the owner, creator, conceiver, videographer, host of a wonderful show called Island Riddims. Tell us about that. How long has it been around? What's your viewership? What's your mission? What's your focus? We want to hear everything. Don't leave a word out. Give us all the details about Island Riddims.
Well, Island Rhythm has been around for going on 23 years. We were known to most as Caribbean Connection, and then that got bought out by a larger company, and so now we are Island Riddims TV. We have over 40 million viewers, and we show as far away as Japan, China, Australia, so you can watch us on the Roku stick as well. And most recently, we are showing on what's known as a Watch Live app, which is called Island TV.
Tell us more. Tell us more.
The app, well, let me tell you a little bit about the app. So you can download the app, and then every Saturday at about 6 p.m., you can watch our upcoming shows. And then if you like it so much, you can watch it again and again and again. What our show does, basically, Island Rhythms tries to bring tradition, culture, entertainment, music, and travel, which are all things that I love, and I think I embody that because it's in my spirit. I love tradition, I love culture, and I love being in those places where I can learn new things and meet new people and learn about their cultures and traditions. And I have such a humbling experiences meeting those people that bring us good things, good music, good vibes, good entertainment. So it's an amazing show, and it's a show that has been here for a long time, and I think we'll be there for a long time. I'll be 80 with a mic in my hand because I love it so much.
Wow, that's amazing. But that's a very, very long time from now. I mean, probably at least another, 50 years or so. Right?
It's not that far. Maybe not that far, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Girl, own it. Just accept it, okay? We're giving you, we're turning back the hands of time for you because you do look timeless and ageless.
I appreciate that. I really appreciate it.
We won't tell if you won't tell. So how?
I'm not. Mom's the word.
Absolutely. So how did this concept that embodies tradition, entertainment, culture, travel, where did it come from, and what did, how did it all get started? What was the process to get onto television, be bought out by something even bigger, and be in all of these global markets? Tell us a little bit about that journey.
The journey was not a very easy journey. It wasn't. All things that we want doesn't necessarily come to you as easy as you'd like it. It was a lot of hard work, and there were a lot of obstacles, and still today we still have obstacles, but we keep pushing through. What happened was I started a long time ago. I started when I was about 16 years old, and I was doing public broadcasting stations, and I created a show called Graffiti Street a long time ago, and then I started hosting parades and hosting shows and things like that. I did news anchoring in the Virgin Islands for a little bit, and then I decided, you know what, since I love this so much, why don't I try to get into the producing side of it and see what it feels like and start producing something that I like. And what I saw on television was a lot of the times we cater to people that are coming to visit, right? Tourists, because that's where a lot of the islands and a lot of places get their money from, is the tourism industry. However, as a Caribbean woman, you live on that place and you don't embody that beauty for a very long time. Like, you're there, you know it's beautiful, but you know what? I'm going to have time to go to the beach some other time, or I'll have time to watch the sunrise and the sunset some other time, or I'll have time maybe to learn about madras and the material and why women in the 18th century tied their head with one peak and why different things. And I realized that was not being shown on television. We're not showing the real beauty, what the nitty-gritty of the real people are. We show ritzy hotels, and we show comfortability and how people should travel in leisure because they go hand in hand. But I like to show people where people go to the river and sit and cook a meal with their family and have just a regular chat and record that so that people can see that this is real island life. Show them people that are still washing their clothes by hand in the river or painting a school building that, the community comes together and say, hey, this school needs to be painted, and they get together with a local person and just make a group and paint it and show them cooking out in the backyard so that the guys can have lunch while they're painting. Different things like that. And tradition as far as our forefathers, the Maroons, and the land that they walked on, and go there in Jamaica and put my feet into that soil and walk on that soil, my feet planted in the same earth that my ancestors planted their feet in, and walk in that and kind of sort of feel their struggle and see how open my universe is because of those people before me. And we don't get to see that on television. We don't get to see that part of what the islands really have, the buried treasures.
Wow. I closed my eyes for just a moment, especially while you were talking about the Maroons and walking through that soil and just under, and I could picture that. I mean, you painted such a vivid picture for me, so I can only imagine. And I've seen several of your shows, for folks that have not seen the show, just imagine seeing that up front and having that experience. It's such a joy to hear and to hear, what you are bringing to the table, and also what you're doing for the Caribbean in terms of highlighting what's happening there and giving it a little bit more authenticity. I think that's what I think I'm hearing from you, that it's an authentic view of the Caribbean.
We still want tourists to come, and we still want them to enjoy our Caribbeans. We do need you. We want you to come over, but we also want you to go to other places, venture out. They scare them into staying at the hotels. Don't go outside, or, if you go outside, you've got to be very careful. And yes, you have to be careful wherever you are. If you're here in Florida, if you're in New York, you have to be careful. Wherever you go, you have to be careful. You always have to be careful. So we don't want these the people that are coming to spend their good money to only spend it with people that already are making a lot of money. I want you to go to Pineapple, in Ocho Rios, the little craft market there, and see that people there are still making things with their hands. They're not factory made, and there's still artists right there sitting painting. I want you to go to the Virgin Islands and buy a coal pot that's made from somebody that's right there as a souvenir, as opposed to like buying the one at your hotel that was shipped in from China. You know what I mean? I want you to spend your money with the grassroots people of these islands.
Good point. And sometimes you get so much better stuff. My husband was just in VI, and he just came back, and he brought back the best honey. Local honey is black gold. The thing is so thick, and flavorful. And, had he been in the hotel or whatever, he wouldn't have gotten that amazing honey. When I take a lick off of it, I feel like, okay, they say a certain, because we're not doing an ad for them, a certain thing gives you wings. Well, that honey gave me wings.
Yes.
Good stuff. So, Diva J, you are often on location, and I have the pleasure of seeing you at many festivals and activities and so on. You are one busy lady, and so you're often working with a lot of the artists, both from the musical genre and other arts. What are some of the newest developments on the Caribbean scene, particularly in the artist, in the arts, but even particularly to hone in onto the music piece? What are some new things that you're seeing? What's exciting and new?
The most recent thing in the last year or so we've seen is that our artists are actually coming together with African artists, coming together with Latin artists, and they're actually using star beats, which we know was the inception of a lot of the music that we listen to right now. And that's such a pleasure to see people like Taurus Riley and Stoneboy and people from Africa coming together to create great music, great beats. It's amazing, and it's almost like something that should have been happening for a long time, the collaboration of African artists and Afro beats along with reggae, or maybe the salsa and Latin music coming together with reggae music. So we're seeing a lot of that, and we're seeing that they're selling the music is really selling with that mix. So it's a great thing to see those things going up the Billboard charts and knowing that, hey, this is great. It's not just our artists now. It's a collaboration of artists and a collaboration of music.
Yeah, I thank you. That's a really good point. I've been observing that, and I think that's fantastic. And it just so rounds out the sounds. It feels like, and it brings. I feel like we are bridging cultures through our music even more, and we're seeing globalization up front, and personal, but in a positive way as it relates to the genre. Thank you for sharing that, but you're absolutely right. That's a very exciting time. I was talking to a group of young people the other day, and they said to me, most of them were from Latin America, and they said, "Oh, you're Jamaican." And one guy said, "The only thing I know about Jamaica is reggaeton." And I said, "Reggaeton, Jamaica? Oh, okay." He said, "But I love you guys' music." And no, he said reggaeton and Bob Marley. I lied. He said, because everybody knows Bob Marley, so he said reggaeton and Bob Marley. Know your music. I love your music. It keeps me dancing. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that, because that's always an exciting time. So you are all over the world, particularly the Caribbean, and you're traveling and you're shooting celebrities and you're interviewing them and so on. How did that happen? How were you able to get through those doors? How does one become a journalist, a video journalist of such esteem? What are some tips that you could maybe share for that young person who's listening and thinking, you know what, I've got a camera. I think I can talk to some folks. I may want to take this on in a different light. What would you say to them?
I think what catapults me and keeps me interested is that you have to always want to be a student. Like, you're never too old to learn. So if you can, and I do that too. I mean, if you're open to it, I do that too. If somebody says to me, well, hey, I've always wanted to do this, I jump at the chance and I say, well, come on, I have this event at this time on this day. Meet me here at such and such a time, and you can come around with me. You can shadow me, maybe be a guest host if you're interested in hosting. But always be willing to be a student and open to meeting people, and don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to, like, put your foot out there and just ask a question and say, hey, how did you get into this? I would like to get into that. And I'll tell you what, most people, for me, when I started doing that, they weren't open to sharing it. I don't know why. I think sometimes I look back and I say, oh, maybe because, they're doing it and that's their market. I don't know why. But always ask. Always open up yourself to learn and to always ask. Always have that questioning attitude and wanting to learn. Always be a student.
Ever-loving student. Be that student. Ask the question. So as you've been doing this, and you said, you started when you were 16, and you've been doing it for 23 years, Diva J. I can't believe that. Again, I can't, but okay, that's what you say. I'm not known to be a liar, but all right. And it's been longer than that. I also did a lot of radio things, like commercials and stuff, voiceovers and things like that a long time ago. But now where I'm at, I just think it's my path to stay on that path and to take whoever I can along with me, because I think the journey, sometimes your path is tough, but the journey is amazing, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, there are obstacles sometimes, but then when you look back at what that journey was, you're like, wow, okay, so I really did that. And, there's so many things that you create when you're on that path, as you well know, because you get to meet a lot of interesting people yourself, and you get to create memories with these people, And you also, another thing that they might want to know is you have to be private. A lot of people are into the whole blogging thing these days, and so if they get an opportunity to speak to an artist, they sometimes think, okay, for hits and likes, let me just do that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like that, because you want to create a relationship with these people where they can trust you and they can say, okay, so I want this documented. And they know that the kind of journalist you are, and they know what kind of show that you have, so they definitely want to be on that. You know what I mean? So you have to create that with them as well. Good points, and I particularly love the privacy piece coming from a journalist, because I agree with you, and that's often, and sometimes even much like you, we have interns and so on, and we believe in mentorship as well, which is what you've just shared in terms of allowing folks to shadow you and so on, because it's about succession and it's about leaving a legacy, I believe. So it's interesting, because one of the things that we talk to our interns and people on our team with regards to with dealing with public figures is their need for privacy as well, because at the end of the day, they are human beings. They are moms. They are dads. They are wives. They are mothers. They are brothers. They are sisters. Yes, you get to see, and we are blessed by maybe their star, let's say, their talent, so we get to see them up front. But I totally agree with you that it is absolutely imperative that we allow folks some privacy as well, so that you can have that rapport, and they know that not everything what them tell you has to end up on social media, because
not everything's for a like.
Yeah,
everything is for a like or a share or for views, or it doesn't necessarily have to be like that.
I think somebody has a song about do it for the love and then do it for the likes.
Yes. and you have to, because imagine if you meet people, and for example, a lot of times I probably travel in the same cabin with the likes of celebrities, and I have friends that, man, you're not going to ask them no, I'm not going to ask them for a photo, because these people are human beings. They just want to get from point A to point B. just take your little memory and know, okay, yeah, I saw such and such a person, and such as you don't have to prove anything to anybody. And they appreciate that even more. They appreciate the fact that you just let some of them, they're in the airport, and you sometimes can't even recognize who they are because they don't look like what they look like on stage. But if you get a chance and you see them and you say hi, and, be polite and just keep it moving. Sometimes they don't want to take a photo, but you're the fan, and they feel obligated. So, if I ain't take a photo with this one, they're going to post it on social media and say they saw me and I was real nasty and I didn't take a photo. And it puts them in a situation where maybe they're traveling because somebody in their family is sick, or they just lost a loved one, for example. So sometimes just be mindful and just remember that they're humans just like us. They're people just like us, and they need their time sometimes, We get all excited and we want to talk to them. And run up on them and stuff like that, but just give them a minute, That's why there's places like, in St. Lucia, for example, you can walk around St. Lucia and see Kelly Ripa and her kids running around, and you can go to other different islands and see these people because nobody's running them down or chasing them down with a camera in their face, and they just want to be regular people sometimes.
Yes, absolutely. Good point. Thank you so much. And so, as you've been seeing this, how has journalism in and of itself changed throughout your journey? What's your observation of that?
Oh, wow. It has changed a lot. I mean, it was never my major. It's not what I went to school for, but it came because I like to write. I love writing. Writing is becoming almost not here anymore. You know what I mean? Nobody writes. Everybody's like Googling stuff, and, everybody, again, social media there wasn't social media when I was doing the whole thing of becoming a journalist. My fondest memory is speaking to a man named Brady in the U.S. Virgin Islands who is related to Alexander Hamilton. And at the time I was in the 7th grade, and there was no way I could record him because I was physically at his house. So I basically had to write quotes down to create a report so that I could read the report for an octorial contest that I was in. And so those things have changed so much because now I don't think a journalist will get the experience of figuring out who's still alive. I would love to talk to Nina Simone's daughter and just sit with her in a room and just talk to her, just maybe not even about her mother, but just about her journey, you know what I mean? And I think journalists miss out on that now because everything is at a click of a button, and it's a microwave of society, so everything is really fast. We expect gratification really, really quick. Like you want to Google it, it might not be right, so the research might not be correct, and then boom, you post it, and then bam, you're done because it's social media and it spreads like wildfire, so you're good to go. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So It's changed. It's changed a lot. The game has changed, and to keep up with the game, you have to move along with technology. You have to use social media, and you have to interact with your crowd, and you have to share things and things like that. But again, we have to be mindful about what we share, the way we say things, and how it's impacting, and the kind of energy that we leave in the universe with what we say and how we say it and what we do. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And so along those lines, how has the travel and entertainment industry changed from your perspective through this journey as well?
I would say travel for me has changed a lot because now I can do it more now that I own my own business, and the ticket price. If you can travel now on Southwest, you can just book a ticket, or any other low cost carrier. You can book a ticket and just go because it's not as expensive as it used to be just to get off the ground. And the entertainment industry has changed for me in the sense that back then they would have something called a MIDI machine where people would bring this little drum machine, and which now they still have different machines, but now a live band, there's nothing better than to go out to a show and see that there's a full live band. So shout out to the Black Soil Band. that is backing an artist, and that is there with an artist. So in that sense, you still have artists that are still, using machines and doing different things. But to those artists that are still doing that, I think that's something to give them a shout out for, that they're, still doing their thing.
Awesome. Yes. So, you've been all over, and what is your favorite destination thus far?
My favorite destination is Africa. I love Africa. All parts of it, all the parts that I've been to, and only because, growing up as a kid, you see Africa and they show you all the little kids with the flies in the face and the swollen tummies, but they never show you where people are rich in culture and what the kente cloth came from and the different Maasai tribes and why the Maasai jump like they're jumping, and the little huts where women go to give birth and that they're secluded for 7 months. They don't show you that stuff. They just show you that, it's just this very sad place, but it's really not. It's amazing. And for anybody that's out there that's listening and interested, it should be one of the things that you do is visit. I don't care where it is, just someplace. It's a huge place. It's someplace. Put your feet there and go back home, I like to say. Go home and see what it feels like, because that's the one thing that you feel when you land. And when you get off that plane and you're walking, it's like the most eerie thing. But they're shouting at you. People are there everywhere you go. Welcome home. And you're like, dude, I don't live here. Like, what are you talking about? But that's not what they mean. They mean, welcome home. This is your real home. This is where you are from.
Wow, what an amazing way to end our segment with Diva J. Welcome home back to Africa. Yes. We have been on the line with Diva J of Island Riddims. She is a mover of music and many other things, doing a lot of things for our community, for our artists, behind the scenes and in front of the camera. And Diva J, before we sign off, tell us how we can find more information about Island Riddims, and if maybe someone wants to invite you to one of their events to cover, how can they do that?
Well, you can find me everywhere on social media, Island Riddims. And, of course, Riddims is spelled the Island way, which is RIDDIMS TV on Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram. You can also email us at divainnovative@gmail.com or Island Riddims TV @gmail.com, whichever one. And that's how you can find me. Or just hit up Empress Andrea. She knows how to get in touch with me. Easy to find.
Absolutely. I'll find her for you, listeners, if you need her. But you know what? She's not that hard to find because, like she said, she is all over social media as Island Riddims, 2 Ds, okay? Spell it the Caribbean way. Diva J, thank you so much for your time today. It's been awesome. I hope that you will join us once again in the future. And we thank you. Keep up all of the good work. Many, many blessings.
Thank you, and many returns to you. Keep the fire burning, and I look up to you, and I admire you, and I love the work that you're doing in our community. So kudos to you, and keep up that good work. Keep that heart and that humility. It's amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I received that, and the same to you. Many blessings, sis. Talk soon.
For the past 12 years, Axum Management Capabilities, Inc. has helped individuals, businesses, and municipalities move from capability to actuality. Our team of experienced business developers will help you to start and grow your business. Let us help you create your business or strategic plan. We'll create with you a responsive marketing campaign that gets you results. How about a new look or brand makeover? Need a grant written for your nonprofit? How about a corporate event planned? Well, visit Axum HQ or call 954-742-9166 to get moving from capability to actuality. Axum Management Capabilities, your full-scale development firm serving the U.S. Caribbean, and Africa. Catch us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Axlin HQ.
We are back for our second part of an amazing show of synergy today. Yes, Atlanta, are you learning? I know you are. Are you listening? I know you are. Are you synchronizing? I know you are, because you are tuned in to Synergy, where music, business, and culture synchronize. And it is Andrea John Baptiste back at the microphone with our fantastic guest, William Penn House, who is an entertainment specialist, owner of Penn House Production, a local or Florida-based, I would say, staple, icon, industry professional, stalwart for many, many years. And with no further ado, Mr. Penn House, welcome, welcome, welcome. And tell us about Penn House Productions.
Andrea, thank you so much for having me, and you are far too kind. Thank you very much.
You have earned it. Your reputation precedes you. And you know that too, sir. No need to be modest on this show.
Well, I think you got to love what you do and do what you love.
Amen. So tell us about Penn House Productions. How long have you been around? Tell us about your services, your mission, your focus, what you do.
Well, I've been a professional singer pretty much all of my, I was about to say my adult life, but since I was 8 years old, I started singing. They say when you get paid, you are essentially a professional. And I started singing, quote, unquote, professionally at around 8 years old. And I was in Alabama. That's where I was born, and that's where I grew up. And around 14 years old, we were singing in nightclubs. And I was the youngest guy in my band, of course. And we were asked by the Commodores, who were in Tuskegee, at Tuskegee Institute. We were performing at 20 Grand Club in Tuskegee, and we were asked by them. They came into the club, and they enjoyed, appreciated the energy and the professionalism that we portrayed, and they invited us to open for them. And, of course, they were with Motown, and from there we had many of the other Motown acts requesting us, Temptations, Four Tops, Spinners. Then we ended up with the Platters, the Drifters, and a host of other ones. We opened for Tavares, the Tramps, you know, on and on and on. The list goes on over the years, and it was a great, great ride. We really enjoyed it.
And this is all at 14 years old, sir?
Yeah, from 14 years old we began doing it, yes. That level, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And we sort of continued to go. I was pretty much even though I was the youngest, I was pretty much the manager. I was handling the paperwork and coordinating the bookings and the likes. So I learned the industry all the way through, not by choice, not that I was the smartest, but I was the youngest. Nobody else wanted the responsibilities. So I wanted to be there at all costs, and I would do anything that it took to be there. So I gladly took on all the tasks, and I'm very thankful that I did, because I learned the entire part of the business. Not just you show up at a gig and you do the gig and you go home. I learned how to procure the gigs, how to communicate with the potential client, whether it was a club owner, a promoter, a manager, what have you, and I learned to deal with them. Many times we got taken. There were times when we got to a gig, we were out on the road traveling and did a gig expecting to receive our money so that we could go on to the next city, and, you know, got bamboozled and had to call mom or somebody to wire us some money so we could continue and do the things that we were doing. But it was a great learning experience. I learned a lot. I grew a lot at a very young age, and I'm very blessed to have been able to learn the full nuances of this industry, from, you know, the conception all the way through the production.
Wow, what a wonderful journey, and to have had all of those phenomenal experiences. I mean, it sounds like there were certainly ups and downs, but all of them bringing you to a place of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. That's a fantastic life lessons to learn pretty early on, eh?
I think so, very much so. And I've never thought of anything that I'd rather be doing. I've done a lot of other things in between along with music, but music has always been a very integral part of my being.
Mm-hmm. And so your production company, tell us a little bit about, because I know I have attended several of your events that are produced, and they are fantastic, well done, professionally orchestrated, great quality and all of that. But tell us specifically, what do you do in terms of production? What does Penn House Productions offer? Because our listeners need to know, sir, I believe you're going to be booked for the next 20 years after this show.
Hey, that would be beautiful. That would be wonderful. What we do is just about any and everything in the entertainment arena. I am a singer, I'm a dancer, I'm a DJ, I'm a musician, but I also have a tremendous network of musicians, dancers, singers, musicians that work with us. We provide quite a bit of multicultural edutainment to many of the colleges and universities. For instance, we just got past Hispanic Heritage Month, where we provided to some of the colleges salsa, merengue, bachata, cumbia, vallenato, samba, the various Latin cultures. I took dancers out, and we demonstrated and educated, hence edutainment. We combine education with entertainment, and it's not in a lecture form where the kids are already getting enough of that in the classes. We make it very entertaining, but as we educate them about where does this dance come from, how did it come to be what it is, the type of costuming they wear and why, and what regions of the world they come from. All of those things we teach them, and it, of course, involves them. We get them out there and have them to participate in the performance, and that makes it stick and makes it real, as we like to say. We do, the 15th of next month, we'll be doing the Multicultural Day for Broward College, and we'll be doing 3 different countries of dances for them, and we'll be doing a Junkanoo band, which is Bahamian as well. And the same thing, we'll be educating them on the origins of these particular countries' performances in the authentic costuming and involving them, getting them out there and getting up on the dance floor and teaching them the moves and having them to enjoy the experience. And we feel like when you tell me something I might forget, show me something I might remember, but you tell me, show me, and get me involved, let me touch it, feel it, do it, I will never forget it.
Amen. Wow, what a dynamic and influential tool for multiculturalism, diversity, equity. Wow, I'm very impressed with that. Thank you for doing all of that. And
we also do a Black History thing very comparable to that as well. We have different levels of it, but we do the African drums and dance, and we involve the people, having them to demonstrate the dances and participate in the dances and sometimes even in the drumming. We also do a Black Music in America, the history of Black music in America, we call it, whereby we start off with the drumming of the Africans on the shores in Africa, and they are having happy dancing, and because dancing in the African culture, just as the Native American culture, just as the Polynesian culture, which we have as well, the dances are expressions. They dance for celebration. They dance for good harvest. They dance for courtship. They dance to get ready for war. And the movement, the expressions that are exhibited in the dance are very interpretive, and we teach them what's happening in those interpretations. But in this particular, with the history of Black music in America, again, we start in Africa with the drummer, dancers, and we evolve from there, where the slave master comes and gets us, and then it gets real. So the energy and the whole scene of the music changes. And then we come to America, and then we're put on to the plantations, and we talk a little bit about how the slave masters would not allow us to bring our drums, knowing that those were the first form of communication other than verbal, distant communication.
Yes.
And
our first phones, our first Wi-Fi, our first internet, our first email, right?
Yes, exactly. So they would not allow it here. The Puerto Ricans, the Cubans, and the Brazilians allowed the drumming, which you find that very prevalent in their music from then on through today. But they did not allow it here. And they did allow, however, the slaves to communicate singing. Not to communicate singing, rather, but to sing in the fields because they found that they were more productive in the fields. But they could only sing, of course, in English. They would not allow them to speak or sing in their native tongues. But in a very short period of time, the slaves were able to do what we call coding. They were singing in the fields, and they sang songs like "Wade in the Water," and those songs were songs of freedom. Swing low, swing chariot, coming for to carry me home. And those were songs when swing low, swing chariot. That was that night. The slave, chariots were going to be down in areas with the freedom people to try to take them up into the north and over into Canada. The wade in the water was when they were by the lakes or streams or rivers, and that was for them to get into the water to evade and elude the dogs from being able to keep their to track them with the scent because they couldn't track them in the water. And those songs later became known as the old Negro spirituals because they became very religious. But we take them through maybe a couple of those songs and tell them how those came to be like that in part of the educational portion of it. Then we go from there into the blues because post-slavery, the blues became very popular. And they were singing about the hard times. And then we go from there into a little bit maybe of the jazz, the happy music, and then we go into the old soul music. And then we go into, from there, maybe into some of the old Motown, which was that era from the 60s up to maybe the 80s. And then we'll get into the 80s, the rap began. And we talk about how that began in New York and the originators, so to speak, of that, and then we bring it forward to today, maybe singing a song or two, and depending on how we structure it, what type of production it is, how many people, and whether we have live musicians or whether we have tracks, and we're doing costuming of the eras as we are going through these periods. So it makes it quite engaging, if you will.
Wow. So just sitting here and listening to you, I am filled with goosebumps as you're talking about the history of our history and through music. And it certainly sounds like a fantastic educational tool, particularly for our young people who may not know. Sometimes they don't know. They don't have this historical perspective in terms of what it took to get us here, through all of through the drumming, like you said, through the quote-unquote old Negro spirituals, all the way through the soul music, to the hip-hop, to what I call now mumble rap. I don't even know if that's a term, but, that's part of the evolution as well.
Correct.
It's always so important for us to know our history and to hear our history. So, Mr. Penn, it sounds like you do way more than just the quote-unquote productions. It's not just the light camera actions, but it sounds like there is a lot of heart and soul and resource and commitment and focus and elevation in the work that you do as well. It doesn't sound like it's just events.
No, not by far. Not by far. I think the biggest of it is the fact that I'm able to continually excite, educate, and motivate myself through what I do, as well as others.
Absolutely. And so, as you're putting these events together and going around and certainly providing high-level, high-quality, like you said, edutainment, education as coupled with entertainment, what are some things that people may not know about this production or the business or this part of the industry? What are some things that, are kind of unique and folks may not be thinking about all the time?
Well, a lot of it is image. A lot of the kids go out and don't realize that what they do in the streets and in their everyday lives has a great impact on the way they are perceived, even the way you dress. I mean, I do a lot of events at many of the country clubs, and I provide entertainment for many of the municipalities, as you know. I provide entertainment for many of the colleges and universities, as well as I'm a certified contractor and vendor for all of the primary schools in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
But that means that I also have to hold myself to a higher standard. I can't go out there and do things, get arrested, become incriminated by other things that I might do and expect to be able to be welcome in many of these environments. And these are the environments that have the funds and ability to elevate my career. So I have to be cognizant of my actions on and off stage. I have to be cognizant of how I present myself. When I go up to an event, I've got to dress appropriate for that event. Not that I've got to blend in. I like to say that as an entertainer, if you're doing, unless it's something like something in the parks or outside, then you can dress down a little bit, but you still have to be professional in your attire, preferably with a company logo on your shirt and such. But in other instances, i.e. country clubs or galas and such, you dress, I think, as an entertainer a little bit above the level of the attendees. And that establishes you as the artist, as the professional, and you're perceived as such. No one, because I think that people judge you when they first see you. Not when they first hear you. I think when they see you, they've already formed an opinion within a few seconds, and that is hard to change.
Yes. As they say, first impressions, right, are often lasting.
Exactly.
Good. That's a good point. Good point. So, you have certainly done many, many, many things, and you've had a very rich life and experience. And I just want to ask, of all of the events and experiences that you've had, is there one or so that stands out that's the most memorable or exciting, or if I could do that one every day, I would put that one together? Any such?
Oh, there are lots of them, but one, I guess that I mean, when you've been out there a long time, I've been at this for 53 years now.
Mr.
And loving every minute of it.
Wait, you started when you were 2, because you certainly don't look like you could be.
I love you madly for that. We're going to see about some better glasses for you, but I love you madly.
Just accept it and go with it, sir, because 53 years, I am certainly impressed. I did not expect. I thought you would have told me 20, maybe 25, but 53, I didn't see that coming.
Well, they say time flies when you're having fun.
Yes, sir.
And it's certainly been a journey for myself, and I feel blessed to have been able to make a living, raise a family, pay my bills, doing what I love to do.
Awesome.
Many of us can't say that, so I feel very blessed.
Yes.
But I guess if I, at this point, when I reflect back, I guess one of the biggest productions and most memorable productions, I would say, would be about 2 years ago when I had the Temptations with Dennis Edwards at the Mardi Gras Casino. I was the entertainment director there for several years, and I was producing well over 860 events there per year, in addition to other events with municipalities and country clubs and such, and colleges. And I guess it becomes very memorable for a few reasons. One is, before the show, we had a chance to sit in the green room and reminisce about 35 years before, when we had done shows together, when I had opened for them with my band and or hosted and emceed their shows when I was much younger. and so were they. And that ended up being the last show in this area that Dennis Edward did before he passed away.
Wow.
So that one stands out very vividly in my mind.
Wow. That sounds like, it all came full circle right in that kind of divinely orchestrated time and so on. What a beautiful story and a fantastic memory. So as you just said, funny how time flies when you're having fun. I would love for you to come back another day so we can talk a little bit more about, more productions and so on. I believe our listeners have been blessed today with your rich history and such a beautiful tapestry of weaving education, history, and entertainment together. We're on the line today with Mr. William Penn House, and we're having to say goodbye so quickly.
Yes.
But before we do that, sir, how do we get in touch with you? How do we book Penn House Productions for our next event?
Well, I can be reached by phone at 305-586-4848. That's 305-586-4848. My email is pennhouse@yahoo.com. That's Pennhouse, P as in Peter, ENNHOUSE @yahoo.com. I'd love for you all to join me on my Facebook, Penn House Productions, Events and Entertainment, or my other social media. You can find it all out there. Either search my name or search Penn House Productions. I would love to be a part of all of your worlds.
When we welcome it. Thank you so much for your time today, and that's our time, Atlanta. We have to say goodbye till next week, but thank you for tuning in for Synergy, where music, business, and culture synchronize. And this is Andrea John Baptiste saying, c'est la vie, have a good day, synchronize.
That's our time. That's our chat. Now it's time to call it a wrap. Tune in next week at 5 for another episode of Synergy Live, where music, business, and culture synchronize. Until then, hit us up online at livewithsynergy.com. Synergy is a production of Black Iowa TV. Synergy is brought to you by Axum Management Capabilities. www.axumhq.com. That's AXUMHQ.com.